of them as well. What a move from the 48. Oh, look at this, and onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from number 40 to make it through that left-hander, sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Motorsport UK Rookie Sportscar Cup here for the final round. We've taken multiple trips across the Atlantic. We land finally at Lime Rock Park for the very last round in this Rookie Sportscar Cup. Toyota GR86s, Mazda MX-5s going up against one another. Two cars not dissimilar in terms of their speed. 17 drivers not necessarily particularly accustomed to iRacing going racing for a pair of 20-minute races with an added reverse grid in there as well. It's myself, Ewan O'Leary and Connery Maddock along with you for the ride here tonight. Thanks very much for joining us. It's great to be alongside you, Connery. It's an interesting event, couple of 20-minute races ahead of us, a reverse grid race I'm very much looking forward to, and a track which I very much enjoy, not particularly in those high-speed cars that IMSA take round here for some reason, but these low-speed cars really suit this circuit very well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is a fantastic, what you'd call a club circuit, right? It's perfectly suited for these sorts of cars that we'll be taking out here today. Perfectly suited for these sorts of drivers as well, because this is a rookie cup. All of the drivers that you're going to be seeing out here today have never gotten above 2,000 iRating in their entire iRacing history. So this is a really good chance for those drivers to show what they're made of in appropriate cars, on an appropriate track, and it should be a lot of fun as a result.
Yeah, maybe we'll see some drivers that we'll see up the top of sim racing in the future. You never know. Let's have a look at how the season has gone so far, because as I mentioned, this is the final round, and we've already had 4 rounds. Take in mind that there is a drop round included within these scores, but that has created what you've got in front of you here. Mike Pierce on the front of the GR86 standings by 60 points ahead of Ash Hill. Then Sean McCardle is in 3rd place ahead of Sophie Aronen. Then Jan Tiotti is in 5th place ahead of Harley Bryan. Aaron McCormick is in 7th ahead of Stas Ivanuk, Jack Cousins and Andy Chell. Those are the 10 drivers in the GR86 standings. We haven't quite got that many of them on the grid tonight though. We do have a few more. MX-5s. Yevgen Seiko is trying to hold on to that championship lead tonight with a 31-point advantage, but plenty of points still to play for. Bilal Usman is the closest challenger with Matthew Gale, a one-time race winner this season, in 3rd. James Smaggersgale is in 4th, kind of within that sort of range as well, 64 points back. Then you get to those a bit further back. Dave Young is 5th ahead of Thomas Kulik. Jeremy Wolven is in 7th ahead of Lisa Noble. Craig Sweeney and Jack Cavalier round out the top 10. Relatively close, or closer in the MX-5s, certainly. The drivers are out there for qualifying at the moment, by the way. 10 minutes and maximum of 3 laps for all of the drivers. But in terms of those championship standings, Connery, we've got 2 very distinct leaders. Mike Pierce in the Toyota GR86s, who's very unlikely to lose that lead, and Mazda MX-5 leader Yevgen Seiko is slightly more likely to lose his lead, but still not very likely. We've had, don't want to say dominant performances, certainly in the case of Seiko, but we have got 2 clear favourites for this championship.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And as you said, the GR86 situation, it's pretty much very, very comfortable for Mike Pierce at the very top of the order in that one. But, you can never say never in these sorts of situations. Yes, these guys do have a drop result to fall back on just in case things don't go as well today. But if you've already taken that up by a poor result earlier on in the season, then you can find yourself dropping down the order rather quickly. Not too much of a concern for those drivers at the very top, for example, but maybe if you're on some of these tight battles for 2nd, 3rd, 4th in the standings, that might be something that you have to worry about.
Well, exactly. I'll give you the example of Sophie Aronen, who's fourth in the Toyota GR86 standings and currently on the top of this qualifying session. Currently taking the drop week as a 0-point score. That came at the very first round of the season when 2 DNSs obviously adds up to 0. So that is sort of taking that away from you, takes that advantage away, and any bad result is included within your score, including a DNS for the second race last round. So that's certainly holding her back a little bit. On board with Jeremy Wolven over the line now in the 1-2-4. It's a good view as to what a Mazda MX-5 feels like on the way down towards turn number 1, and what it feels like to be on the top of the standings as well. Expecting a close session here with lap times just under 1 minute.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Everyone really, really close as well. I wouldn't be surprised in this situation if you see some of the slower GR86s actually fall back into the MX-5 pack once we get racing here. As you see Mike Pierce come across the line, not pole position in that class for Mike Pierce. 11 thousandths of a second behind Sophie Aronen's time. Here comes Belle Usman coming up across the line for the MX-5s as well. A 57.345. It does not have any improvements in terms of his starting position as we head into our first race in about 4.5 minutes time.
Thomas Kulik goes over the line now, and that's a bit of an improvement. 8 tenths behind, up to 7th now. Not many drivers still haven't done their lap times. James Smagersgale is I think on his second lap at the moment. He's currently 8th in the Mazda MX-5 Cup competition. He just goes over the line now to complete his second lap. I think he's got one more though, and he will be able to utilise that maybe to jump up the field, because it's not been a great start to the qualifying session for him, and on board we go with him. Currently 4th in the drivers' standings for the Mazda MX-5 Championship. Just 20 years of age, the Londoner, and he now makes his way around the back part of the circuit up turn 5, heavily called the uphill. Very apt name. Then through West Bend, which is turn 6, high speed as well, clipping that curve on the right hand side, avoiding the grass and inevitably the wall as well, and then into the downhill, which is what turn 7's called. It's not very imaginative names, I've got to say, for Lime Rock Park. That's a bit wide though, and there's one of the dangers. The off tracks round here. Don't know if 15X is going to be a problem over 20 minutes. Certainly was a problem there.
Yeah, it's not ideal there for James, as he has to bring that car down on towards the pit lane. Completely abandons the lap, of course. You get that 1x from going very wide, cancels out your lap time. That's just in case you're unfamiliar with the way things work here on iRacing. But it does look like that pretty much everyone is done in terms of their lap times out there, and we still got a couple of minutes left to run. So Ewan, maybe we can have a little bit of a talk about that lap from Sophie Aronen at least.
Yeah, let's have a look at how pole position was taken. It, of course, has gone to one of the GR86s, although we do still have one driver having not set a time at all. We're not going to worry about that because that's a Mazda. We're going to go on board with this pole lap here from Sophie Aronen into turn number 1, which is actually 2 corners. So here's 1, and then you sort of go out wide, come back in for the double apex and the run on surprisingly important run on the way towards turn 3, utilising all the space on the right before turning in for another late apex here, and then a slightly more simple, finally not double apex, turn 4. Make sure you don't run out too wide, because again the tyre wall will collect you. That's a real theme around Lime Rock Park. Then uphill here, this is my favourite corners to be honest, turn 5 up the hill, and then you get just tipping on the edge of going into the air. Then in towards turn number 6, pretty simple as well. It's high speed round the back part of this circuit as opposed to the slower speed and overtaking heavy first part. Then you get into this final corner, try not to run out too wide. As we've seen, that is easy to do, and that is what a pole lap looks like around Lime Rock Park. That was enough by just 11 thousandths of a second. I think, just smooth, unspectacular. That's exactly how you get pole.
It absolutely is, and no matter if it's by 11 thousandths or 11 tenths or whatever, it's still pole position in the end for Sophie Aronen. Of course, she has picked up a win so far this season. It was race 1 at Tsukuba at round 3, or race meeting 3, shall we say, where she was able to pick up a win, second place in the second race of that event as well. So picked up a healthy amount of points there, and it looks like the repeat is on for her here at Lime Rock Park for the final round of the season, if this trend continues.
Don't forget that winning both races is going to be tricky with that top 10 reverse grid. I'll tell you why I'm more interested to see this reverse grid than I am for normal ones. I'm always excited for a reverse grid, but I'm even more excited for this because overall, the top 10 is not going to be taken up by the top class, as you might see in a normal multi-class race. These cars, as many of you may know from doing this official series from iRacing with a couple of added extras in there, these cars are pretty close on speed, and as you said earlier on, the back part of the Toyotas will be in with the front of the Mazdas, and you're absolutely right, that's what's happened here. Presuming something like that happens in this first race, we're in for a very interesting starting grid, if not the race, for race 2.
Yeah, it's going to be all jumbled up, all pretty chaotic, and we'll have to see how the drivers deal with it, of course, because this is going to be the, the only broadcasted race that they'll have over the course of this season. We haven't really been able to see what the history has been like in that particular aspect. So I'm hoping that all goes well, but of course it also depends on how well this first race goes. See if drivers potentially get in over their heads when it's the final round of the season, or if they want to take it a little bit more conservatively, knowing what is on the line for some of them. That's going to be the story here.
Yep, can you stay out of trouble? And can you take that title? That's the job, the only job for Mike Pierce and Yevgen Seiko, who are the current leaders of the championship. Let's see where they are in this starting grid here, starting with the Toyota GR86s. So everyone, when we just saw that pole lap there, 56.1, good enough for pole, just ahead of Mike Pierce. Sean McArdle and Aaron McCormick round out the second row, with Harley Byrne and Ash Hill, who's second in the championship, starting in 6th place overall and in class. Then Andy Chell and Giantiotti, who have actually lost a couple of places to a couple of Mazdas. They're 7th and 8th in class. Speaking of those Mazdas, it's Jeremy Wilvan and Belal Usman who have got ahead of those two. Matthew Gale is 3rd, half a second away in qualifying, ahead of the series leader Yevgen Seiko. Linda Noble and Jack Cavalier round out the top 6. Slightly more numerous class here, and as we go to the second half of the field, it's Thomas Kulik who is in 7th in the number 18, ahead of James Magasgale, who we saw his lap on board. Zed Murray is 9th, ahead of Dave Young, who didn't qualify. Hopefully he does get onto the grid in time for the race. 20 minutes. There's a look at the cars standing on the grid right now, getting ready to go racing. It's going to be a very interesting race indeed. Staying out of trouble surely early on is going to be the key.
It absolutely is, especially when considering that these guys are a little bit more inexperienced than you'd usually see.
Absolutely, the Revs rise here at Lime Rock Park. The series finale for the Motorsport UK Rookie Sports Car Cup is underway from standing start, and it's the Mazdas who have gotten off to a better start than the Toyotas, really. The leaders, the 2 leaders, you can see them flying through the middle there. They're on the way in towards turn number 1. The overall leaders for the Toyotas, single file and nicely sorted out, but Jeremy Wilvan and Belal Usman have made up great places immediately. But behind there's trouble, big trouble. A spin for one of the Toyotas in front of the pack, and I think we've seen Linda Noble maybe caught up in that one, smashing into the side of one of the Toyotas, as off in the grass goes Jeremy Wilvan as well. The pole sitter in the Mazdas has gone off into the grass.
Yeah, it was the driver, just having a look at it now, driver of Aaron McCormick that was spun across in front of traffic, and there was really nowhere for Linda to go in that situation, just straight into the side of the car, and there's more drama.
And there's Yevgen Seiko, the series leader in the Mazda MX-5s, has gone off the road and down to 6th place. We've already seen a couple of pit stops, and so he won't be losing places to Linda Noble or Jack Cavalier because they didn't even make it round lap 1, but he is down into 6th position as they complete the opening lap. That was chaotic. The story at the very front of the field, Mike Pierce has taken over the lead.
He has getting that pass started in the opening lap, but a bit of chaos further behind. We also had a jump start for Thomas Kulik as well, who heads his way down on towards the pit lane. So not just drama in terms of contact out there, drama in terms of getting off the mark a bit too eagerly.
I said the Mazdas went off to a good start. Maybe that was why. A bit of a too good start maybe on the front there. It's always interesting having standing starts, isn't it? But you very rarely see it in multi-class racing, and it's even rarer for the slower class to actually get away better.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe it's a bit easier to apply their slightly more limited power down, whereas you have to be a little bit more careful in the GR86s. But yeah, it was interesting to see that split there. So it does cause a couple of problems when you head into turn 1 then, because the MX-5s might have a tiny run of speed and it all bunches up coming down into the braking zone for the corner. So that's something to note, especially as we get round in towards race 2 as well. Here's the jump start from Thomas Kulik. Yeah, just a little bit too eager, about a second or so before the lights actually went out.
There's Matthew Gale recovering from an off-track moment through turns 1 and 2. That's got James Smagersgale up to second position in the field. Something else to note, by the way, if the race were to end right now, Belal Usman would halve Yevhen Seiko's championship lead. I said at the start of the day that it is possible for it to change for the Mazda MX-5s, but not likely. Well, Usman's making it quite a lot more likely by halving the margin in race 1. He only needs to just do that all over again for race 2 if he can. There he is, making his way around the final corner. The maybe slight problem for him is that he's actually 4th overall, and so instead of a reverse grid benefiting a Mazda running well inside the top 10, he's actually going to go backwards for a reverse grid.
Yeah, that's going to be a very interesting one, as there's Ash Hill heading his way down the inside, of course, 2 separate classes in this instance. So maybe the... but yeah, for Belal Usman at the moment, well, he's a good couple of seconds down the road compared to James Smagersdale at the moment. So he does have a quite comfortable buffer back to second place in that MX-5 class. Actually 4.5 seconds to be exact. But yeah, he's in a comfortable spot. But yeah, you do raise a very good point about the reverse grid, about it being not quite beneficial given how many GR86s are actually behind him instead of ahead of him. But we'll see how it works out, and there's still 16 minutes left in this one for things to change as well.
Certainly are. So there's Usman making his way down the hill and into the final corner. Lyndon Noble and Jack Cavalier, I'm pleased to report, have got back out onto the circuit again after a minute and a half and nearly 2 minutes in pit lane respectively. Everybody does get one faster pair in this series, but if you have to tow back to pit lane, then that will obviously cost you a bit more time, as Sophie Arenwent gets down the inside of Mike Pierce and through. So another change for the lead. The pole sitter back into the lead of this race again, as Mike Pierce may be erring on the side of caution. So just 5 minutes in, that's a couple of lead changes, and now Mike Pierce is the chaser again.
Yeah, Mike Pierce, just an error heading down in towards turn number 1. It looks like there it is, just washing out a bit wide out into the grass, 2 tyres into the grass, and Sophie's just able to nip her way down the inside there and retake the race lead. Fantastic, opportunistic move.
I mean, that's the danger, isn't it, of Lime Rock Park? It's not one of those circuits that's tarmacked over all over the place. You can make errors and pay for it around here. That's exactly what happened there. It back into the Mazdas. We did see just before we were watching that battle for the lead, Seiko versus Wilvan for 6th place. That didn't change, but there was a side-by-side moment which Seiko had to see off. Down the inside there goes Matthew Gale in towards turn number 1 on a GR86. There are the 2 MX-5 battlers I was just talking about. Seiko ahead of Wilvan. 2 actually very fast drivers, considering they're 6th and 7th, one of them having qualified on pole, Wilvan of course, and Seiko, who has been the fastest driver this season by all accounts, because he's leading the series, as well, I'm afraid to say Wilvan's gone off through turn 3 for the 2nd time this race.
Yeah, well, that is the final nail in the coffin for Jeremy Wilvan as far as gaining that position is concerned, at least on his own merits. Yeah, it is a big shame to see. There are your race leaders in GR86. Maybe a little look down the inside for Pierce, or at least a little nose, just to show that he's there on the way down in towards turn 1. I do want to bring the conversation back to Yevhen Seiko, though, the number 70 championship leader in the MX-5 Cup class. He's currently on track for his worst race 1 finish over the course of this season. It will... I guess, I don't know if you can call it beating, but it's worse than the 4th place that he got in round 3 in the first race of that particular event.
Well spotted. Something else I noticed actually while looking through the results earlier today was that he only ever wins twice. He's never won just one race of an evening. He's always won both when he has won. 2 evenings without winning, 2 evenings with both. So can't really seem to go in the middle. And it looks like today is going to be an evening of neither victories. The real, I think, target for him has to be not only getting some of these positions back in class, that's kind of important, but the bigger issue is getting into the top 10, is it not? I mean, 10th place for him would surely be an absolute dream.
Yeah, it absolutely would, but is there even really a route for him to do that? Because he's currently almost 5 seconds behind Zed Murray, for example. Yes, Zed Murray and Dave Young are relatively close out there on circuit. Something could happen between those two, but especially with the time that we have left, 5 seconds, it's a lot to catch up as long as those two drivers ahead of him don't start fighting. If they do, then there's potentially a route for Psycho to get back inside of more significant points paying positions, and of course having the better track position. But yeah, it's not looking fantastic at the moment for your MX5 championship leader, although he does have the saving grace of having a bit of a points buffer in the championship.
Yeah, this would only halve that advantage. Yeah, I totally take your point about that being a big gap. And however, he'll be encouraged by this. It's not only the 2 ahead that are fighting, it's actually the 4 ahead, because Dan Ciotti is struggling a bit in the Toyota GR86. He's 9th overall, but 6th in class. And then you've got, just ahead of the actual battle for 4th in class, you've got Matthew Gale, who's trying to get rid of Ciotti, I think. Not successfully as of right now. In towards turn 1 they go, and they seem to be close. Oh, that was very wide from Murray, but he saved it. Seems to be a Mazda there catching as well here. I wonder if that's Jack Cavalier maybe, who is a couple of laps down. But pleased to report that all 18 cars, we gained one from practice, 18 cars are still running in the race even after the trials and tribulations of the opening lap. Here's a look on the inside in towards the uphill for Dave Young. Not able to must be very frustrating when you're a Mazda in this situation. Faster through the corners, not fast enough in a straight line for the looks of this.
Yeah, Dave Young had a very, very big run on him coming out of 3 and 4, but simply really had nowhere to go to try and get around the GR86, and now you can see him just falling further and further behind as these straights go on. Yeah, it's a very, very frustrating situation to be in, especially when you have another driver in your class 4 position breathing down your neck. It's very, very stressful, and it's a bit more stressful as you see the car ahead go wide, as Ciotti might end up losing this position on track to the MX5. He loses it to one, maybe the other, not too sure.
Oh, I don't think he was too sure either through turn 3, but now he's had the decision made for him as Zed Murray goes down the inside at 4. Now, is he going to come back again into turn 5, or is he going to accept his place in the race here? Well, it would be tricky for him to do that because he is 11th now, and he'll for sure want that top 10, much like Yevhen Sheko will want that place. Ciotti will want 10th as well, so this could get awkward between the two. Zed Murray needed a better run through turn 6 there, I would argue, and he's going to be exposed into turn 1 if he doesn't have a good final corner. The GR86 is just that little bit better in a straight line. The Samposi straight on the where the front straight is, it's not happening for Ciotti, and so now he may well get left behind as we go back to the leaders. The 2 leaders, as they still are, halfway through this race, 11 laps through. They will be at the end of this lap. Should be another 11 to go. And so far, Mike Pierce has had no luck. Maybe a bit of lap traffic will bring him some.
Yeah, that's something we haven't talked about just yet, although he does hit the curb on the inside awkwardly, has to push wide through the exit. That's a lot of lost time now, which he really can't afford to lose, at least as far as a race win is concerned. But like you said, there is a bit of lap traffic coming up. Thomas Kulik, who had that jump start, had to come down in to serve a penalty for that. Aaron McCormick, with that incident earlier on the first lap as well, has been able to come down in to get a fast repair and then get back out there, albeit quite far off the pack. But yeah, these front 2 are coming up on them now. Here's with the incident on that first lap with Aaron McCormick spun in front of traffic. There's Lyndon Noble who just can't go anywhere. It's one of those situations where the car ahead of you can just about avoid it, but then you're left with no time to react because you're only just seeing that car basically spread across the circuit in front of you at the very last moment.
Yeah, let's see how and there's the... I don't think these 2 Mazdas help. Not that it's their fault, but they're just getting off to a very good start. McCormick's got Mazda's through on his right, a Toyota very close on his left. So where's the actual contact that instigates the spin itself? He's alongside one of the GR86s. There's the contact. I think it's with Sean McArdle. And then he's stuck in the middle of the road. As you say, Linda Noble, no chance to react at all. most of the field no chance to react, although thankfully only 2 other cars were caught up in it. As I said before, Aaron McCormick did have to come down pit lane for that. He served 3.5 seconds in the box and then left again. As I mentioned, 1 fast repair in this series, per race of course, and so it was used for that occasion, very worthily so as well, you would say. And now he is just about on the lead lap. You can see the orange GR86 just in front of this leading battle. That's how much time it's cost him, and it's basically ruined his evening, because at the moment he is 16 seconds off of 14th. Never mind any positions better than that. Here's another look at it.
Yeah, well, a little bit tricky up over the curb, but able to gather it up, number 5. And then you see what's going on further down the road. Yeah, just basically nowhere to go. And if you wrench the car to the right there onto the grass, I mean, that's a very quick way to find a tyre barrier on the right-hand side as well. So your options are so limited.
I think Aaron just made a mistake there at the very front of the race. He certainly did. And Mike Pierce is trying to take advantage of it. Diminishing returns on the outside there through turn 4 and then into 5, and this is slowing Aaron McCormick in the way as well, but they've sorted it out and Aaron recovers from the error, but again sliding through turn 5. There's a lot of pressure to soak up here and still plenty of time left to soak it up.
Yeah, fantastic stuff between the United Sim Team car and the ARS car in behind as well. It's fantastic seeing these two do battle. Here's the replay of the chance there for Mike Pierce as he commits around the outside, but Aaron was just able to hold it on that shorter line and able to get herself back ahead. But as we go back to the live pictures then, with, well, 6.5 minutes left in this race, nothing between your 2 GR86 leaders.
Absolutely nothing as they make their way through the opening sector of the lap again. Aaron's only got 1 race win so far this season. Of course, there's only been at 5 of the 8 races, to be fair, but still only won just the 1, in contrast to Mike Pierce, who has won 6 of them. He's guaranteed to have the most race wins of anybody at the end of this season, whether that's in the GR86 or MX5 class. He will be the top of that tree, maybe the top of the GR86 tree as well. He's gaining points at the moment on his closest championship rival, who is Ash Hill, currently down in 4th position. Sean McArdle's 3rd in the championship, currently down in 3rd in this race as well. That would close up the margin between those two, by the way, by 4 points, so it would go down to just 10. Here's a look at what happened to Seiko on the first lap, and it's an unforced error, you've got to say.
Yeah, absolutely unforced, and really takes a hard lick into the back of that MX-5 against the tyre barrier as well. So, yeah, very unfortunate, and probably carrying damage from that instant as well, which may be affecting his performance. Meanwhile, other battles going on out there on circuit. This is the pack involving Belal Usman, Ash Hill, Harley Byrne as well. A couple of the GR86s involved in this one. The battle for 4th in GR86, in fact, between Hill and Byrne there. That just got a little bit close.
Behind Belal Usman, who is the leader of the MX5 class. Won't want any part of this. He's got 4.5 seconds though, can't really afford to lose loads. So it's a difficult assignment for him at the moment. Do I let the battle behind me go through and lose the time, or do I risk them taking me out in their fight? It's a difficult thing to weigh up at the moment for the driver in 2nd in this championship. Through the final corner they go, and he's defending here. So he's made his intentions very clear. Is he letting them through, or is he defending? He is defending-ish. As round the outside goes, I can't actually tell. I think Ashfield has gone round the outside, and maybe he did want that to happen. Big slide. They've all got away with it though, and Harley Byrne will want to go through straight away as well.
Yeah, Belal Usman's trying to do this without losing as much time as possible, because he's aware that while the margin is somewhat healthy back to 2nd place, if there's any little instant, any little tap, any little spin, all of a sudden that's all gone down the drain. But he splits the GR86s here at the moment, and we'll have to see how that one goes.
Well, if these 3 were a bit more organised, maybe they'd take more use of it, but it is always difficult around Lime Rock Park, and it's a battle for 2nd place in their own right. 3.5 minutes only to go in the opening race of the Motorsport UK Rookie Sports Car Cup, and it's a move on the inside for Matthew Gale. He's surely going to go through here. side by side at the line. Not quite sure who would have taken it. Probably Smaggers Gale by the barest of margins, but it doesn't end yet. In towards turn one they go. Matthew Gale does have the inside on the place, and now Dave Young, going to try and follow through. That was very close. He didn't really have the room to go through.
Yeah, just a little opportunistic there as Smagersdale. He didn't want to lose so many spots in one go. Currently in the middle of the three at the moment. You can see the looking back from Matthew Gale's car there, who's done pretty well in the last previous moments. But yeah, certainly not over yet in amongst these guys, as I'm seeing... Ooh, I just had a bit of a worry there looking at my timing screen because I saw Usman just drop out just for a second. But no, he looks like he is still back there on circuit. Don't give me those sorts of heart attacks.
Yeah, don't do that. Goodness me. Here we go in towards the front straight again for the second place battle. They're losing time hand over fist to Usman now. As long as he stays connected to the race, he will win, surely. In towards turn one they go. Dave Young looking for a way through. Smaggers Gale in the unenviable place of looking behind him and in front. At the moment, he's not going forwards or backwards. He's just staying on that podium position. All of these drivers, as things stand, will gain places through the reverse grid, although they will be behind Tanciotti on the front, who at the moment has got back past Seb Murray and will be finishing in 10th if these final 2 minutes play out the way he hopes. Through the uphill right-hander they go, and Gale's just edging a gap away slightly. There's half a second for the first time in a little while.
Yeah, and remember, this is important, or somewhat important, for third place in the championship as well. Gale in third place, Smagersdale in fourth in that MX5 standings. So this could matter in the end. Yes, there's still a decent points gap between the two of them, but you never know what happens in race two. As we're riding on board here with Dave Young, who's residing in that fourth place at the moment, has those two cars just in the windshield down the road, hoping that he can get somewhat involved in these last minutes of this race. But it does look like they're just starting to string themselves out a little.
It does. They're getting drawn out here, dragged away by Matthew Gale, who's really putting the pace on at the front of this now. That would extend his lead over Smaggers Gale from 17 to 22. Of course, I'm not counting the fastest lap point there, which I'm not entirely sure where that's going to go to just for the moment, but we'll work that out, of course, in the end of the race. Here goes Ash Hill trying to hold on from Harley Byrne here. Speaking of fastest lap, there goes Mike Pierce taking that one, so we know where that one's going in the GR86 as if we expected anything else. Here goes Byrne down the inside now, in towards turn one. That was tentative, but was given the room by Ash Hill, who goes round the outside. Will try and get the inside for turn three, but hasn't got the nose ahead in that Toyota, and through goes Byrne. So that is a definitive pass by Harley Byrne into fourth position, as there are pit stops in the Mazda MX-5 category, a drive-through for Smaggers Gale.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Hard fighting towards the front of the field, but getting himself a drive-through penalty is not exactly his idea of getting a fantastic result here. That's a bit disappointing there. Perhaps may have hit some form of instant limits. Of course, we have 15 as our limits until you get a penalty. Then it's every 10 after that, and must have hit that initial 15 limit.
Absolutely. I didn't think it was going to be a problem, actually, but has been, clearly, as we go side by side now for second. Matthew Gale trying to take that back away from Dave Young here and really cement himself in third place in this Mazda MX-5 Championship. He certainly has. In towards turn one, a very nice pass indeed. 5.5 seconds, though, is the margin for Sophie Erenwin, who won earlier on this season, is going to win again, doubling the win tally for the season. Sophie Erenwin wins the first race here at Lime Rock Park, and it's comfortable in the end after challenge from Mike Pierce. The gap 5.5 seconds, and in Mazda MX-5, Balil Elsman has had the dream start here. Seiko has just gained an extra place and will reduce the damage, but it's a dream for the current championship runner-up. He takes his win tally to 3 for the season, here with the first race at Lime Rock Park, and crucially decreases that advantage of Yevhen Seiko, who will be now licking his wounds and getting ready for race 2. Maybe a little bit more worried, probably a lot more worried than he was at the start of the day.
Absolutely, I think he'll be counting his lucky stars that as we see a side by side to the line between Psycho and one of the GR86s there. But Psycho will be very happy that he's able to gain at least one place at the end of that race there, because that could all be it could all matter at the end of this, considering we have no idea how this race 2 is going to go. We have no idea how the reverse grid is going to play havoc on the drivers' races here today, and having those couple of extra points might make it matter a whole bunch.
Absolutely. As all the drivers make their way back to pit lane now, and they'll be having a little bit of a break before the second race gets underway. Bilal Usman wins in the Mazda MX-5s by 5.1 seconds to Matthew Gale, cementing his place in third in the standings, although he didn't lose that many points to Usman, so he's still in with a very, very outside chance of winning. Dave Young is the one who just missed out on that second place. Seb Murray moved up to fourth, and Jefferson Seiko moved up to fifth when James Smaggers-Gale had that late drive-through. Just held on from Jeremy Wilburn, who got that pole position. Thomas Kulik was the first driver 1 lap down. Linda Noble recovered to 2 laps down after that opening lap incident. Jack Cavalier 7 down after the opening lap incident, although he did recover to get back onto the circuit. In the Toyota GR86s, Sophie Erenwen wins the race by 5.5 seconds as well. Mike Pierce cements his champion status with a second place. Sean Mercado third, which puts him a little bit closer to Ash Hill for second in that championship, because Harley Byrne got past Ash in the final laps there. Tanciotti 6th place in the class, but crucially 9th overall. That will give him a front row start for the second race. Andy Chell and Aaron McCormick, the first and only driver, 1 lap down. So, an interesting first race, I've got to say. Thoroughly enjoyed it. The field will be very mixed up indeed in time for race 2, and we're very much looking forward to that. But overall thoughts on race number 1? Thought it was a little bit of a messy start, but good racing afterwards and mostly clean.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, starts like that happen at any level. Let's just face it. No matter if it's more of a rookie series, intermediate, or even the top of the pile, sometimes those things happen, and you just have to learn how to deal with them. But yeah, apart from that, a lot of clean racing, a lot of nice racing, a lot of respectful racing out there here today, and I hope that's replicated in race number 2. Fantastic results, of course, for our winners, for Usman, for Sophia Erenwen, both drivers showing that they are the class of the field, at least here in race 1 at Slime Rock Park. But of course, we have this complex factor of the reverse grid to come as well. I will say, at least in terms of the MX-5 championship, obviously Psycho is still in the best seat at the house regards to that. That is completely without a doubt. However, for Usman, the championship is still not really in his hands, because he can still win this, and it all depends on what happens to Psycho, right? So that's really where the focus should be, and as a driver, I guess that's tricky to really reckon with. Like, no matter what you do, really, in the end, it's what the other driver does that decides the championship, right? Yeah,
absolutely. And so we'll try and work out as the day goes on what the situation is there, now that we've got the actual points at our disposal. But just on that point, for the MX-5s, Usman basically does have to win again here. Now, that's not as difficult as it might be, considering the top 10 reverse grid. Don't forget that I think only 3 of the MX-5s got into the top 10, maybe 4. I think it's 3 though who got into the top 10. No, it would be 4, won't it? Because there were 6 GR86s. So yeah, top 4 in the MX-5s will be benefiting from the reverse grid. That means Usman is effectively starting in 4th, although not that many positions behind them actually on the road. It's not impossible for him to win this race. As you say, it is still out of his hands. However, it is going to be interesting to see how he plays this race and how Seiko plays it as well, because we saw his incident. It was an unforced error, and it was on the opening lap. He wasn't under any pressure. It was all in his hands, and he may be thinking, what's to stop me doing that again? The pressure really is on him in this second race.
Yeah, it absolutely is. But the reality is for Usman, it would have to be Saika's worst ever result in this championship across both races for him to end up winning this, and even then it would be by a couple of points. So yeah, it's a very interesting story coming in towards race number 2. How that pressure really affects the drivers is going to be something different as well, because some of these guys may not have been in this sort of situation before, where they're going to win the championship or they're in contention for winning a championship. It's definitely a different mindset that you take into a race like this, knowing that you're potentially just one step away from getting it.
Absolutely. I'll return back to that in a moment, but I believe we can show you the standings for what they are now after the opening race of the season, or we will be able to in a few moments' time. So we'll get to that. One thing I will raise about Seiko here. Did some research on him earlier today. Found out only been sim racing for a year, only 16 years of age, not that experienced. How much is that playing into possibly the first ever time he's been in a championship finale quite like this?
Yeah, that's a really tough one. Sim racing for a year and you know, going and being competitive in championships like this, that is a heck of a result. Let's just say that. So I think it might have to be, okay, you know, what sort of maturity will he display out there now? Will he get in over his head trying to push too much for, you know, too much in this one, despite having the big points buffer? You know, that could be one of the things that ends up happening, because again, haven't got the experience to realize when you have to go and when you can take things down a notch. So yeah, that's very interesting that you bring that up, because yeah, it's a lot of pressure on such a young person's shoulders for sure.
And the fact he's so young and so fast is disgusting. But anyway, let's have a look at these championship standings the way they are now after that opening race of the day. As you can see, Mike Pierce is romping away with the GR86s. He's got 73 points with only 46 available in this next race. He is going to be the GR86 champion, and that much is very clear. Ash Hill, though, is under pressure for second. Sean McArdle reduces that margin to just 7 points, with Sophie Erenwen still an outsider, really. Probably needs another race win, and that's going to be difficult to achieve from 10th. Dan Ciotti getting chased down by Harley Byrne for 5th place. Aaron McCormick has lost ground in that battle as a result of that race. Stas Ivaniuk and Jack Cousins are not here. Andy Chell could jump over them, though, with a good finish in race 2. MX5s is a different picture entirely. Yevhen Seiko has got 10 points according to these calculations. Actually, thought it'd be a couple more than that, but it's 10. So Usman is still second. Matthew Gale is now a bit more comfortable in third because of Smaggers Gale's late drive-through. Dave Young's in the top 5 ahead of Thomas Kulik, with Jeremy Wilvan in 7th, Lyndon Noble 8th, Craig Sweeney and Jack Cavalier rounding out the top 10. So that's where we're standing in the MX5s as well. Want to return to the GR86s first of all. Mike Pierce seems to be our champion. There's not much that can take that away from him at this point. The battle for second is going to be very interesting. But I said earlier on, this race and this event is not like a normal event. It's not a normal reverse grid even. Are we even going to see a GR86 win this race? Because the best drivers are towards the back behind some very quick Mazda MX-5s.
Yeah, that's the intriguing thing. It's definitely a possibility. I wouldn't completely discount it. It would be a weird set of circumstances, that's for sure. But yeah, we'll have to see. I do think that the gap is more exacerbated when we talk about the top MX-5 drivers versus the top GR86 drivers. The gap between those is much more significant than the back of the GR86s and the front of the MX-5s, for example. So it's going to be an interesting strategy at the very front there with the MX-5s in particular, especially when you're talking about Usman, as to how easily do you let the top GR86s through? Do you even let them through at all?
Yeah, so it's really difficult, and I don't think Usman could quite make up his mind, to be honest, from what I've seen. Of course, those points that we've just seen, by the way, provisional points. We've not checked through any stewards' reports. We've not. That's just basically how they finished, and we've just left it. So it's very provisional. Don't take those words as gospel by any means, because they very much could change over the course of post-race. Second race coming up, though, in a few moments' time. As I mentioned, another 20 minutes ahead of us. Very similar to what we've just seen. Same track, of course, same car combination. Just that top 10 reverse is the real key. So very much looking forward to it. And again, I know I raised this in the race, but how bizarre is it that the MX-5s get off the line better than the GR86s? I can't say I was especially expecting it. even though I have driven the MX-5 myself, but you very rarely, even in the official, you don't start together. So it's a very rare set of circumstances. It's very odd. And again, that's why I raised the point of, can the GR86 even win here? Will the MX-5 win here? And they're certainly going to have the track position. I've got no doubt about that. Dan Ciotti's on the front row, yes, but he's against a Mazda MX-5, and surely he's not going to win that drag race towards turn 1.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And like you said, it might be a bit more chaotic on the start here because, again, if there is such a difference in getting the traction down between the two cars, they're all mixed in. Well, much more mixed in for this particular race than they were for race 1. So then you start getting into the whole issue of you might get a great start in behind a GR86, and all of a sudden you can't go anywhere because that GR86 is blocking you. So yeah, that's going to be a big issue off of the start here. And of course, like you said, the run down in towards turn 1 will be a different kettle of fish as well. So a lot of heads-up driving required here, and especially for those drivers that are a bit more inexperienced, that are a bit younger, this will be another situation that they'll just have to learn to deal with, right? Because, you know, once they get further on in their careers, they start racing in more of the faster multi-class cars like the GT3s, the prototypes. They'll have to start dealing with bits in traffic and cars slowing down in weird places compared to where they usually do. So you better get used to it now, otherwise you'll never get used to it.
Absolutely, yeah. We said at the start of the day, these are drivers who are very much developing drivers. We mentioned it, you can't have gone over 2K iRating at any point in your career to be in this series. So that's the sort of level we're talking at here. But, you know, there's some very promising drivers on this grid. There's no doubt about that from what we've seen from the first race. Some very quick drivers indeed. You just do notice, though, when you see this level of drive versus, say, I mean, the Spa 24 was a couple of weekends ago, for example, 10 days ago or so. Just look at the difference between those drivers. The thing I really notice is that there's consistency issues, especially the further you go down. Generally, one lap speed is not actually that different from top to bottom. You can get pretty close, but just hot lapping. But driving for 20 minutes consistently, not only with it consistent within your own times, but first of all, actually not making any mistakes at all. That's really the difficult part, and that's where the differences are made.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is, like you said, exactly what separates the top drivers from the more intermediate and lower drivers, is able to put in those good lap times every time rather than once in a while. It's something we pick up on, especially when someone like Verstappen comes on and does these iRacing special events. His lap times are so consistent, right? It's absolutely like alien how consistent he is, and that's what you need to win races, right? That consistent performance. But of course, these guys are still very early on in their sim racing careers. We're not expecting the most consistent laps out of them. I just remember back, when I started commenting in 2016, there was, on the iRacing side of things, when Sebastian Job was running in the Monday Night Skippy series that we had here on RaceSpotTV, while he was trying to get himself through the ranks. He got himself into the top level of sim racing in the open wheel side of things, then went to the Porsche Super Cup as well, and he's done incredible things. And well, he started in lower powered machines just like these. So yeah, it's always fantastic when you see those development of those drivers all the way through from a very young age into very competitive adults.
You've got to start somewhere. Everyone has to start somewhere, and so that's what this really is all about. And it's wonderful to see and be a part of this. We're just in practice at the moment before the second race. Just saw the track conditions there, 44 degrees Celsius down on the circuit. I think that's getting into the hundreds and 110s and so, and if you work in Fahrenheit, but I wouldn't imagine that most people watching this do, so that's fine. It does seem a little bit more sunny as we see someone clipping the grass on the way in towards... Oh dear!
Oh dear.
That's what could have happened to Seiko, I suppose, on the first lap. He clipped the grass exactly like, oh dear, we've got really big crashes now. Better get this out of the way before the race, I suppose.
Yeah, just wanting to show off the new damage model, which all cars in iRacing have now, as part of one of the recent patches. But yeah, it's 15 seconds left before we get ourselves our starting grid here for the final race of the season. We'll get to decide our finishing order at the end of this one, our championship standings. standings. Yes, the GR86 championship is all wrapped up at this point, but we still have the big question mark hanging over the MX-5s. Can Psycho recover from what was a very, very poor race 1 into even just a respectable race 2 finish, which will then net him the championship?
I've heard of an admin error here, by the way, Connery. Sophie Aronwin has joined in the Mazda instead of the Toyota.
Uh-oh.
So that could be a problem. I'm not sure if she's going to be able to race or not as a result, or whether that is going to be it. But we'll have a look. Here's the Toyota grid. Danciotti on the front of it. He'll be on the second place overall on the front row alongside Ash Hill. Holly Byrne will be in third ahead of Sean McArdle. It will be Mike Pierce, the champion in waiting, in fifth ahead of Andy Chell, then Aaron McCormick. As you notice, one driver less. Then coming up in the Mazdas, it will be Zeb Murray, who is first overall, ahead of Dave Young. Matthew Gale and Bella Loosman will be on the next row ahead of Sophie Heronwin, who's fifth, and she is permitted to race, but obviously won't score any points. Ahead of Yevon Seiko, then Smagers Gale, Woolen, Kulik, Noble and Cavalier to round out the grid. Off they go, the final race of the Motorsport UK Rookie Sports Car Cup here from Lime Rock Park, and it's Mazdas everywhere. Danciotti is going to get swamped here by the front four on the way in towards turn number 1. Down the inside they all go. Zeb Murray gets through first of all, then Dave Young. Matthew Gale trying to follow through as well, but struggling a little bit more to do so. So Bella Loosman goes through already into third place. A great start for him as Yevon Seiko goes side by side with Dame Smagers Gale now. The two of them finished pretty much side by side in that first race. As we go back in the pack, look at this. Oh, Dave Young pulls off the road.
Yeah, very wide, having to let the whole stream of cars by. Not exactly sure what happened there with Dave Young. He's continuing to lose positions out there on circuit. In fact, so a very, very intriguing start, shall I say, to this final 20-minute race of this entire season. Cars diving down the hill now in towards that final corner. A bit cleaner of a start this time around. No cars stranded in the middle of traffic like we saw in race 1. Here's Sean McArdle trying to get himself in the thick of things here in the mid-pack on the way down in towards turn 1, tempted to make it 3 wide into there.
Here we go, through turn 1 they go. Bella Loosman is in prime position already. As things stand, he would be the champion. Seiko needs an improvement here, otherwise he will not quite get there in terms of the championship. I'll verify that, of course, in terms of the points, but I believe that to be the case. Ash Hill's leading in the GR86 category, followed by Danciotti, then Holly Byrne and Mike Pierce battling it out. Pierce frees from the shackles of a potential losing of the championship, now going for this side by side, door to door with one of the Mazdas, which was getting quite close to him. That is Seiko, who is probably hating this at the moment.
Yeah, you realize the last thing he needed, fighting with the his opposite number in terms of championship leaders. Of course, the battles between the GR86s and the MX-5 don't matter here. They're separate point structures here, and there's no track position for a reverse grid to fight over when you bring that into consideration as well. So yeah, it's just really unnecessary fighting. But you can see how these guys all strung out single file now, heading their way through the first sector. There's Andy Shell involved in this one as well, a little bit further down the order. That's in P6. There's the number 5 car I'm talking about there as he chases the rest of the pack down in towards that uphill section, that little crest over the hill. Here's Aaron McCormick looking down the inside of one of the MX-5s as well. Such a risky move to make there because, well, if you're slightly offline, you have a little bit of input coming over that crest, the car can get very, very upset.
Certainly can. Down the hill they go, through into the final corner. Bella Loosman is currently going to pull off quite an extraordinary turnaround as things stand and win the title if things were to stay as they are. Seiko needs to finish third or better if Usman wins the race. Meanwhile, Jack Cavalier and Jeremy Wilvan go side by side, and Wilvan's off. He's been one of the fastest drivers, if not the fastest, in the MX-5 today, but he's made mistakes and it's put him back to 7th where he finished the opening race of the day. Then it's Thomas Kulik, then it's Linda Noble, who we've seen really for the first time. Didn't get to see a lot of her in the first race, caught up in an opening lap incident, but we're seeing her start to look at 8th place now in the midst of the midfield, which is very lively indeed.
Yeah, there's really not a lot of room to maneuver in and amongst this mid-pack here at the moment. Cars everywhere you can see, and I'm seeing James Smagasale and Sean McArdle go side by side there. Again, two different classes trying to negotiate some track position on the way down in towards the pit straight now. But look at the run that Lyndon Noble has on the car ahead. Is able to try and get at least an opportunity on Thomas Kulik on the way down in towards turn number 1 here. Around the outside she chooses. Can she hang it around there? No, just dips back in line.
Yeah, just about in time. Through the opening sector they go. Look up the inside from Jeremy Wolven again there as well on Jack Cavalier, who I think is kind of being restrained by the GR86 he's got in front of him at the moment. That's Andy Chell in the 6th place in that class, the second last of the GR86s. An update on Sophie Owen: she would have been permitted to race in the MX-5s, although wouldn't have scored any points, has elected not to. And so we've only got 17 in the second race of the day. Meanwhile, Yevhen Sheiko has just made a move for the championship. If he finishes 3rd, he wins the title. And that was a big move. He was 3 wide. I think we just saw it through the bottom of our screen. Going into West Bend, he's overtaken Gale. He's back ahead. Now Usman can't do anything. Seiko's hanging on by 2 points as it stands.
Pierce is getting right up in there, though, in the GR86, as we see a replay of the moment. Then 3 wide over the crest. That is absolutely crazy. Gale having to take avoiding action towards the inside there. A bit of a squeeze on the apex as well for Psycho, and Psycho is through, potentially winning a championship with that move. But we've still got such a long way in this race to go. Look at
my
that.
God. That is absolute bravery from Yevhen Sheiko. You can tell a championship's on the line. He saw his opportunity. He absolutely went for it. And it may have just won him the title. It's been a lot closer than he was expecting and maybe hoping for today, but he's right in the money now. He's just behind Zed Murray as well here for 2nd place in the MX-5s as they're battling in front of it. Well, I say right behind, he's in the midst of all the GR86s. And look at Matthew Gale. He's trying to pull the 3 wide move that was made on him. In towards turn 1 they go. Seiko having to go through the middle for the 2nd time in 3 laps, and they're going to do it. They're all going to go through this contact. They all make it out the other side. Seiko's still in the middle here, trying to hold on for a title. He's just about got 3rd place in his hands at the moment, but that was unbelievably close.
Oh my word, I'm not sure what the history is between Pierce and Psycho at the moment, because of course with their different classes they're not fighting for points. Maybe Pierce is just wanting to try and press forward, try and get as many positions as possible, get onto the podium in the GR86s, but he's just being denied, or at least get further up the podium in the GR86s, but it's just being denied at the moment, and just more chaos.
Gale in the wall. Matthew Gale in the wall. That relieves a lot of pressure on Yevhen Sheiko there. It's not bad enough for him to come in to take one of his faster pairs, but he has been overtaken by Jeremy Wolven and Jack Cavalier as well. Wolven goes down the inside and through, although not definitively. Cavalier's still there. Danciotti goes very wide and loses all of his places. Oh, there's this big snap. Big snap of oversteer from Dave Young, who goes straight into Matthew Gale, who's now damaged the other side of his nose.
Yeah, just battered and bruised over the course of this race now, as we have a look at Dave Young trying to keep himself ahead of one of the GR86s there. So that's kind of changed the complexion of the MX-5 race just a little bit here. James Smagasdale now the driver in P4 in that particular category. So that's one thing to have a look at. If you're Psycho, you can breathe a little bit easier, as you said there, Ewan, but how easy can you breathe when, Mike Pierce in that GR86 is so close behind you? I don't know. But running on board with Jack Cavalier at the moment, the number 56, currently in 6th place in the MX-5 class as well. And, well, doesn't have Jeremy Wolfen too far down the road.
No. Oh, and Wolven's made a mistake there. As again, I said he is the fastest, I think, in the MX-5s. Just keeps making errors. And
contact! Oh no, Psycho's around, and it's contact with Mike Pierce as well. Oh my God, the 2 championship leaders have come together in the final race. This is crazy.
Oh, he's got damage. Seiko's got damage as well. Oh, it's completely out of his hands. The championship leader is going to take his drop round in the final race of the season. And that is the contact there. The secondary bit of contact to his left rear, I think, has broken the suspension. Oh, look at that. That is completely ruined. The suspension is toast, and so is he. There's the contact initially. This is the bigger hit. Bang, there you go. No suspension anymore. He has to hope Bela Loosman doesn't win this race.
I don't get the logic from Pierce there, unfortunately. Why are you running that MX-5 so hard? You've already won your championship. He hasn't won his yet, and yet you're just sputting him out from contention.
You're absolutely right. I agree. I totally agree. I don't know what he's doing, really. He's gone to last as well. He's not helped himself particularly. Meanwhile, oh dear, spin and contact. I'm afraid for Sean Mercado, who was on course and searching for a second in the championship. He's gone into the grass at the hands of one of the MX-5s. I think it might have been James Smagerscale who just got out of shape there. Now Mercado's down to 5th position. There is Smagerscale. I think it was him who got a bit restless, and he's back up the inside of McCormick there, but back through into 5th all over again. Well, what drama. Seiko towing back to pit lane. He'll take his fast repair and go back out, but as I say, it is now, he's gone from a 31-point lead to helpless.
Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. And of course, all the results will be pending steward's review, but even in the steward's review, you can't give points back.
Exactly. I was just thinking that. It's all well and good giving Pierce a penalty for hitting Seiko, but it doesn't exactly help Seiko, does it? It doesn't give him any of those points back, as you say. That could be the real issue for the championship leader. So let's start talking about drop rounds, because it's necessary. I don't like doing it, but it is necessary. 57 points is his current worst score, Yevhen Seiko. This is going to overtake that catastrophically, I'm afraid. And as Smagerscale gets out of shape, so he will effectively score 57 points. That will effectively be added to his score, if you stay with me. Bela Loosman scored 45 through his opening race, and so realistically needs to score 57 plus 32, whatever that is, 89 on the day. That is effectively, to dumb that down even further, that is effectively 2 race wins. He can't do anything else other than win here. Second place, and Seiko still wins the title.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, Psycho, he's down on the pit lane, taking the tow, of course, and, will get a fast repair and probably get back out there as well, just to make sure he keeps himself in contention, just in case something happens to Usman or what. No, he's actually fully out at this point, it looks like, out of the car. So, yeah, Usman, well, remember what I said about championship being out of his hands? Championship is very much in his hands now.
It's a remarkable turnaround, isn't it? But it was true when you said it. It was true. But,
yeah, but it changed though, didn't it?
Yeah, it has. Yeah. Oh goodness me! You can't beat a season finale with drama added in. Absolutely fantastic. Meanwhile, Sean Mercado has just made his way through on Aaron McCormick, by the way. His shot for second place is looking a little bit long now. He needs to gain 7 points, on Ash Hill at the moment. 3 places down on Hill, who is currently leading the class, not leading the race. I said, can a Mazda win the race? Bela Loosman is currently doing just that.
Yeah, 9 seconds at this point, back to his closest MX-5 competitor. Looking very, very good at the moment, all things considered. And, it does, and he's a bit of no man's land out there on circuit as well. No one behind, no one ahead, as we see this battle going on further back with Sean Mercado involved in all of this back here as well. But yeah, it's very, very comfortable for Bela Loosman at the moment. It's a Sunday drive essentially, but it's a shame how it had to end in the way that it did.
Certainly is. Seiko out the race, and I'm sure we'll be contemplating and rerunning what's gone on tonight in his mind again and again. And I'm afraid it's a very young shoulders for that to fall on. As I mentioned, just 16 years of age, just been sim racing for 1 year. He has certainly made his mark on this championship. There's no doubt about that. Over the course of 10 races, 4 wins for himself. And that end with the most, but he won't end with the title if things stay as they are right now. Let's focus on some of the battles that are actually happening on the circuit then. there are many in the GR86s. In fact, Andy Chell and Mike Pierce are the only ones not involved in a fight out of the 7. We've got a 3-car battle between McArdle, McCormick and Ciotti for 4th, and Ash Hill and Ashley Byrne are fighting for the win as well. Byrne has been closing down, has been setting the fastest lap of the race overall as well, and so it's a leading battle overall for the GR86s, but it isn't the overall race, it is just for that class win. They're comfortably 6.5 seconds ahead of the chasing pack.
Yes, indeed they are. So we've set the stage still for what might be an intriguing finish, not only in this mid-pack battle, but of course towards the very front of the GR86s as well. So lots of things to look forward to over the course of the remainder of this event. And well, it's still all to play for. 5.5 minutes left to go. In terms of prizes, I don't think we've really talked about the prizes over the course of this broadcast. At this point, of course, we have straight from the league information. We have the Feel Gloves have kindly joined the championship as the official prize partner and are providing 10 of their SR2 sim racing gloves. 1 pair of gloves will be awarded to each driver in each class selected at random. The drivers finish that round as we have the battle on screen.
Yep, side by side again in towards turn number 1. It's Jeremy Wolven defending really from one of the GR86s that dives down the inside. That's Andy Chell, who goes for a spin. It was aggressively on the inside. It was too far up the curb, and he goes for a spin, loses not only 3rd, but 4th and 5th as well. Andy Chell, I'm afraid, has kind of self-inflicted that one by getting far too much on the inside.
Yeah, absolutely, and just like how much it's bunched up the pack and further behind as well, side by side through this really fast right-hand kink up the hill is a really sketchy moment as Zed Murray is caught on the worst line there. Jack Cavalier down and through. Zed Murray even under threat from the MX-5 behind as well of Dave Young, but Smaggersdale making his force known around the outside at the final corner. 2x2 coming up towards the pit straight here. This is crazy stuff. Pack racing in our MX-5 class.
It's great racing. Absolutely fantastic to watch. Looking up the inside there, Mercado, as he tries to take all of these MX-5s at once. He's not going to achieve that. He'll try and do Smaggersdale just at once, but can't do that either. And here goes McCormick on the inside of him. Meanwhile, side by side for 4th was Zeb Murray. Moves past Dave Young. Cavalier goes very wide ahead of them. Unforced error from him. And Dave Young's going to maybe take them both here. He's on the inside. Cutting through as well is Smaggersdale, who cuts off Mercado, who will now get overtaken by McCormick definitively in towards the uphill. Then down on the inside goes Mercado. This is absolutely crazy.
2 tyres in the dirt there for Zed Murray as well as they continue to try and take this the long way around here towards the back end of the lap, out of the west bend and through the downhill. Turn 7 here at Lime Rock Park, and now they've got the run over Dave Young. Dave Young's not got a good run down the pit straight whatsoever. He'll gain some back in terms of slipstream here, but here comes Zed Murray passing multiple cars to the outside of 1.
Oh my goodness me, that's very wide, I'm afraid, for Zed Murray, who drops to the back of the field. So he's out of it now. Cavalier gets back to 3rd place. Jeremy Wolven, by the way, has gone completely up the road in 2nd. Cavalier now 3rd, ahead of Dave Young, who slots in ahead of Smaggersdale. Then you've got the battling GR86s. Aaron McCormick goes round the outside of Mercado to take that 3rd place. Then there's another GR86 of Andy Chell, who's re-recovering after a spin at turn number 1, only a couple of laps ago. They've probably got a few more laps of this, and I'm not entirely sure how much more they can take as Ash Hill and Harley Byrne go very close in towards turn 1. They stay single file. A lot less lively, I'm sure, than this battle, which is more than half of the field battling through onto the front straight.
Yeah, it's a fantastic sight indeed, and another set of duels will happen on the way down in towards turn number 1. The GR86s getting themselves involved in the fight as well, but it's the MX-5s at the front of the train. Jack Cavalier around the outside, or at least attempting to defend around the outside, but Dave Young able to hold that position for the moment. Smaggersdale getting a nose into this situation as well through this little infield section. Now he's going to come under threat from McArdle in the GR86 in behind as well. This is crazy stuff, but we've only got just shy of 2 minutes left for them to settle their differences.
Goodness me. Could we have another 20 minutes for these lot? we need some more time to settle this. Absolutely extraordinary battling. This, by the way, for overall places, if you're interested, 5th place overall. Up the road is Jeremy Wolven, who's successfully, the only driver to successfully rip himself away. And this leading battle, Ash Hill versus Harley Byrne for the win here. Down the inside goes Ash Hill to hold on again. As I say, 2 laps to go here, and Hill is looking to hold on to a famous win here. Hasn't won yet this season, has got a great chance to do so with these last couple of laps.
Yeah, well, he's played it patient so far, but when it comes to a second to last or a final lap, you've really got to go, go, go. And here's Matthew Gale back in the pack as well. That has caught up behind a couple of GR86s here, has a couple of MX-5 breathing down his neck. Zed Murray, one of them. So, yeah, it just has to be very, very careful down there. Back up towards your GR86 lead. You can see how Byrne's starting to get a little bit more desperate at this point. 30 seconds to go as they head their way out of the final corner. Start of the final lap for these guys.
It certainly is. We've already seen Bela Lusman. Well, I haven't seen, but I can tell you Bela Lusman has taken his final lap as well. He's already just begun that as the battle continues. It's drive-through for McCormick. It's the second race in a row someone's had to do that on the last lap. This time it's Aaron McCormick. This time it's one of the GR86s, I'm afraid. As down the inside goes Zeb Murray to hang on to 6th place in the MX-5s ahead of Matthew Gale. Well, what a drive it's been from Bela Lusman. Away from all of the action in the midfield, Bela Lusman has been quite astonishing in his driving. Ash Hill looks like he'll take his first win of the season in GR86, but it's going to be an overall win for a Mazda MX-5. Bela Lusman's 4th win of the season. And more importantly, he's going to win the Mazda MX-5 title by turning it around on the final day and taking it by just 2 points, as behind Ash Hill wins a dramatic final corner battle to win in GR86.
That is incredible. It was a bit of an error from Ash Hill in towards that final complex, and just about was able to still hold on as Harley Byrne had a bit of a run in towards the final corner. But we'll get to see the replay of it here. A little wide through the West Bend there. Gave Harley Byrne the opportunity, found a lane on the outside, but overcooked it a bit too much. Out into the grass he goes, and Ash Hill's win in the GR86 is secure, but it got very close.
That was quite amazing. The battle into the final corner. Ash Hill just about hanging on, securing 2nd place in the championship and a first race win of the season as well. 5/10 the gap at the line. Harley Byrne gave it a good go. Sean McCardle eventually got away for 3rd. Dan Ciotti finishes 4th ahead of Aaron McCormick, with Andy Chell in 6th. That doesn't look quite right, but I'll go with it. Mike Pierce finishes 7th. He should be the champion in GR86, but a reminder, all results and all champions I'm talking about at the moment are, of course, provisional before post-race stewards, inquiries, etc. Bela Lusman wins by 11.5 seconds to take the overall race, not only the Mazda MX-5s. Jeremy Wolven managed to get himself away to finish 2nd. Eventually, Dave Young did the same too to finish 3rd ahead of Jack Cavalier. Zeb Murray dropped a bit of time towards the end, finished 5th ahead of Thomas Kulik. James Smagersgale got 7th ahead of Matthew Gale, the final driver on the lead lap. Lyndon Noble slipped 1 lap down. Johan Seiko dropped 12 laps down after quitting the race after that crash with Mike Pierce. Sophie Aronwin accidentally joined in the wrong car and so didn't participate in the 2nd race. Well, what a 2nd race that was. Quite amazing, really, to see a MX-5 title turning itself around when we really didn't expect it, certainly not at the start of the night. And let's take out the championship implications for a start, because exciting as that was, the midfield battle was like something I've not seen for quite some time.
Yeah, absolutely. You could substitute any top-level race for that, and it would look pretty much the same in terms of the amount of racing room, the respect, the quality of driving that was displayed out there. So fantastic to a lot of those drivers involved in that mid-pack battle towards the very end of the race. That was a whole bunch of fun, and it just goes to show, how entertaining these sorts of races can be with these types of cars on this particular track. Yeah, it's fun.
It certainly is. And one final word as well on that Mazda MX-5. battle. It was amazing between Seiko and Usman. They weren't really together for most of this race. Indeed, that's one of the weird things about championships. You don't even have to see the driver you're going up against sometimes. But it wasn't to be for Seiko. Sometimes you maybe accept that it's not your day, and maybe today is one of those ones that he'll have to think about that. But for Belal Usman, he will just be possibly amazed. He'll certainly be delighted. I think he would have been pleased to do the double tonight anyway, regardless of whether he would have done enough. But now that he has done the double and done enough for a title, he'll be absolutely ecstatic.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways you can think about it with Usman particularly. Yeah. I mean, you're probably coming into this race thinking, okay, I'm just gonna secure second, and that's probably my season done, right? To get the win at the end. Obviously, the circumstances are a bit weird with that, but to be able to come out with that is going to be a very big surprise, and he'll definitely take it as the achievement that it is. You do have to feel bad for you do have to feel incredibly bad for Seiko though, because it was well, I mean, the first race was an unforced error, but the second race definitely wasn't. So it's you can't really. I don't really know how mentally you bounce back from that in most cases, where you've had your race ended through no fault of your own and your championship hopes dashed through no fault of your own. It must be really difficult to come to terms with that.
Yeah, some may argue that he wouldn't have been back there had the unforced error not happened in race one, but these are all what ifs and if buts and all of that kind of thing. So that argument for sure will go on. But congratulations to both of the champions we've crowned tonight. A reminder, of course, that all of the champions and race winners and race results indeed as well are provisional prior to stewards' inquiries and so on, and anything that will be updated after the race, of course. But for what the racing was, it was absolutely wonderful. A big thanks to everyone who has tuned in for this, the Motorsport UK Rookie Sportscar Cup here for the season finale. Lime Rock Park has delivered a couple of absolutely classic races here tonight. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Conor Maddock. Hugo Louise has been behind the cameras. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.